Welcome everyone to our V-Ray 5 for Revit webinar. We're really excited to have you join us today. We've got a great lineup of folks to share some information with you. We've got Anna Lubinova, our product manager of V-Ray for Revit. We have our friends from ELS Architects and Urban Planners. We've got Chris and Danway and Tracy and Cherry. Let me walk you through our agenda for the webinar. The first thing that we're going to cover, and you'll see a live demo of this from Anna, we're going to show you real-time visualization with V-Ray Vision. We're going to show you the all-new Chaos Cosmos to add smart entourage and V-Ray assets to your scene. We'll show you how you can relight your scenes without re-rendering using the brand new light mix functionality. And then we'll demonstrate how you can fine-tune and finish your renders right inside the V-Ray frame buffer without having to go to an outside image editing application. We'll show the new improved sun and sky, some material, some added touches of realism we've added to the materials like coat and sheen, ways for you to create subtle imperfections such as varying your textures and colors and maybe even a bit of weathering. We'll show you how you can create and easily add line work to your images as a global setting or by material. We'll hear from our friends at ELS Architecture and Urban Planners about their design visualization process. And at the end, we'll share with you how you can go get V-Ray 5 for Revit for free today. And we'll also take some questions. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and ask them in the chat. And we will do our best to either chat back and answer or try to answer some of them at the end of the show. So first things first, I was a visualization artist for a very long time before joining Chaos, and excited to be the head of creative here at Chaos now. One of the hardest things to describe was rendering. You know, you were at a party or you try to tell your mom what that is. And I like to tell people that you can take photos of things that don't exist, and that sort of gets an eyebrow raise. But one of the things that's the hallmark of V-Ray is we've got these true to life cameras and lights and materials and all the tools you need to make something look as real as it gets before actually building it. So for those of you that know us in the architecture sphere, you might be interested to find out that V-Ray is also used widely across other industries, from visual effects to advertising, automotive, product design, and so on. And also because of that realism. So here you can see some examples of Thanos from the Avengers film, or Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy, or maybe you know, Game of Thrones. So it's the same underlying ray tracing technology that's used in V-Ray across those applications that's inside of V-Ray for Revit. And in fact, V-Ray's now been used in over 300 films and television series. And we're proud to say that in 2017, we actually won an Academy Award for helping to bring photorealistic rendering, making that popular across film and television. So if we look at the traditional design process, there were these moments where you were working with your team and you're designing, and then visualization became a way to communicate that design at certain moments, at certain milestones. So you would maybe do a series of renderings and post them up on the wall, or share them with a client, or share them with your team. But that's really evolved to be more of a real-time design, real-time visualization throughout the entire design process. And when we looked at that, and we looked at where we were with V-Ray for Revit and Rhino and SketchUp, we said we'd like to make sure that you have access to those real-time visualization tools as well as the rendering tools anytime you need it. So really, this was our goal with V-Ray 5 for Revit. We want you to have real-time all the time while you're designing right inside of Revit, and then photorealistic rendering anytime with V-Ray, anytime you need it. So the first thing that we added, and this is a really big step for V-Ray 5 for Revit, is now you have real-time and rendering all in one application, all in one seamless connected application. So you get real-time visualization right in your viewport with V-Ray Vision, or right inside the V-Ray Vision viewport, and then photo quality renderings with V-Ray. We've also added Chaos Cosmos. Now, Chaos Cosmos is this brand new universe of 3D content that you can use inside of any of your scenes. We call it a collection of essential entourage with high quality models and HDR skies. So that includes anything from furniture to trees and vegetation, to cars and trucks and buses, to people, and of course these beautiful HDR skies. So these are assets that you can use to bring your projects to life and bring it right inside of Revit. And there's a Chaos Cosmos browser that lets you grab these things and add them to your scene. One of the things that we wanted to solve that's special about Chaos Cosmos content is that it always shows you the right level of detail. So in the viewport, it's lightweight and it's easy for you to move around. Then when you're in V-Ray Vision or you're looking at it in real time, it's got a bit more detail, but it's still optimized for that view. Then when you go to render, whether that's in V-Ray or the all new Chaos Vantage for real-time ray tracing and you get the highest level, the highest degree of photoreal quality. So to show you this in action, I'm going to turn it over to our V-Ray for Revit product manager, Anna Lubinova, and she's going to share a screen and give you a demo of how this works. Make Anna the presenter.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this live demo. So just one moment, because I'm trying to realize how to hide this panel. Okay.
There we go. It looks good, Anna.
Oh, no. Okay, I will just hide it somewhere here. All right, so yeah, this is the same model that we just saw in the video that Lon demonstrated. So here I have already run V-Ray Vision, and it's as easy as a game. You just have the V-Ray Vision button over here next to the other rendering modes, like V-Ray Production and Interactive. Once you launch it, you will know that it's connected to Revit because you see this icon with the 3 circles that are connected with each other. This means that you're now connected with the Revit model. And here we have some info about navigation and the keyboard buttons that you can use to navigate around the model. There are also some additional settings, like the way you would want to navigate, whether it's using your keyboard or using your mouse, like that. And you can switch between both from that button. There is also an automatic exposure value. So I just disabled it, so this is how it looks using the exposure value from my V-Ray settings over here. And this is how it looks like when enabled. So all the assets that you see are actually Cosmos assets. So let's take a little walk around the model like that. and I've just entered the building. It's great because you can explore your model and see some details, change them, and so on. So for example, here, I have this room where I have placed some Cosmos assets, right? So let's say that I want to explore some material variations. I'll just go to a 3D view, and I'll use the V-Ray Appearance Manager, and with the Material Picker tool, this one over here, I'll just pick the wall material. And from here, I have already created some V-Ray materials. I can switch and see it in real time. Well, probably not that one because it's too big, but we can adjust it. So you can see all the changes to textures and materials in real time. You can walk around your model, navigate, and basically see all the changes you make in real time at the moment you make them. So now let's see how Cosmos works. Here you can access it through the V-Ray toolbar. This is what Lon already showed. This is the Cosmos browser. And so basically it contains two categories, one for 3D models and one for HDRIs. I will now go to 3D models, and I have set it to display only what I have already downloaded. Normally it looks like that. And you can see all the new assets because we're constantly adding new assets to the library. So I'll just use what I've already downloaded. And let's say we want to add some accessories, for example, some tableware. Okay, so it's here. And probably some decoration. And as you can see, the assets, depending on their type, can be placed on various surfaces. This is because all Cosmos assets are actually Revit families, and you can easily find them in your Revit project browser under the respective categories. For example, all the decoration and stuff would enter into the entourage category, and like you can see, all the Cosmos assets have their names starting with Cosmos, so that the orientation would be easier. Another thing, let's try adding some lamps. They would also appear under the lighting fixture category. And another thing in addition, so one place to see the Cosmos assets is the Revit project browser, because those are native Revit families. But also, if you navigate to the Appearance Manager and the Objects tab, besides that, you'll see your Revit families here, and you're able to replace them with proxies or V-Ray scenes. In the list here, you will also see your Cosmos assets so that you can select them and you can change their scale or rotation and even randomize them in case they're planting trees and so on. Another thing that you can do is to replace existing Revit families with Cosmos assets. So if you just select any of your native Revit families from the drop-down over here, you see all the Cosmos content that has been loaded in your project, and you can select an item to replace your existing Revit families. And with this, you can keep your native families, but take advantage of the Cosmos assets for visualization purposes. Yeah, so basically, I think that's it. Lon?
Great. Thank you, Anna, for showing us.
Continue with the presentation. Okay.
So one of the things that I'm sure you're all wondering is, first of all, how can I look at that content? And you can see that content at cosmos.chaos.com, and you can browse what we have in the library and see that right away. The other thing is that it's included for free with V-Ray 5 for Revit. So the content that Anna just showed you and the content that you see on there is available for free when you have V-Ray 5 for Revit. Also wanted to share with you that we've updated our material library so that it is completely high resolution now. It's got 4K textures and it's ready for high resolution rendering. And that brings us to the next big feature of V-Ray 5 for Revit, and that's light mix. And light mix is really cool because it allows you to render your scene one time and then change the lighting however you want afterwards without having to go back and re-render. And so this is excellent for creating a daytime shot, a dusk shot, a night shot, all from the same version, or looking at different ways that you might want to present your scene. So I'm gonna turn it back over to Anna, and she's gonna walk you through how light mix works.
Yeah, so the first thing is how to enable it. It's a render channel, so you need to find it in the channels tab. Then you need to select how your lights will be grouped. There are 3 options: by family type, by light groups, or individual lights. And there is an additional setting for linked files. In that demo, we have already rendered an image in high res, so I'm using it. And here's the light mix. So after you render with light mix enabled, this is what you're going to see. These are all the lights from the Revit model, and you can change their intensity or color, and like you can see, in a while the image updates. Yeah, so here I'm changing the intensity and then the color. And with that, you can basically have many lighting variations from a single render. And another cool thing is that you can actually save them as a preset. And you can, for example, have multiple presets, like I'm having 4 presets, and I will just load one. And after the preset is loaded, VFB locates it, and in case you have all the presets in the same folder, it just displays them like that, and you can switch between them and literally explore the combinations. And once you're happy with your result, you can push it to composite, and you can continue adjusting the colors and the light intensity, or you can add some additional layers. In this example, I have all the render elements generated. So I'm creating a V-Ray atmosphere layer, which you might know that it holds the atmospheric effects like fog and the aerial perspective. In that example, I have aerial perspective. So I can increase that layer intensity, or I can change the color, and I can also change the blending mode of the layer. And the color corrections that you already know from the previous V-Ray frame buffer are still here, and they can be added as layers as well. Like you can see right now, I'm adding an exposure correction layer and the curves, and you can also reorder the layers. And another cool thing is that you can actually save a preset for a specific layer. Like here, I have saved a preset of the curve, and I'll just load it. Like that, you can save presets either for a single layer or for all of them. And last but not least, I'm showing the filmic tone map, which is something new, and it comes with the V-Ray frame buffer 2. Yeah, and to export a preset, you can use those buttons over there. And once you have all your presets in the same folder, you can navigate across them just the same way like with Lightmix. So basically, that's it.
Great. Thank you for sharing that with us, Anna. So that's exciting that you can now go ahead and relight your scene with Lightmix, but then you also have this world of image editing tools now right inside the frame buffer where you can adjust your colors, you can add the new filmic tone map, you can do all of those things to your render without having to go to an outside editing application. So let's talk about some of the other new pieces that have been added or improved in V-Ray 5 for Revit. One of the first things that you'll see is that the sun and sky has a new and improved model. So you might be familiar with the HOSEC sky that's in there now. The new one, the improved sky, actually makes the sun look better as it gets at the horizon. So it does a better job at sunrise and sunset, or capturing that magic hour where a lot of renderings sort of look beautiful. We've added some new layers directly to the V-Ray material to make it easier to do certain things. In this case, we've added a new coat layer, which allows you to put a reflective coating, such as maybe a lacquered finish on ceramic or a varnished finish on wood. So you can see that that coat layer is built right inside the V-Ray material. You just set the amount and the glossiness and the color. And here's a quick look at how that shows up in action. Similarly, we've added a new sheen layer to the V-Ray material. So this is perfect for creating soft fabrics, your velvet, satin, silk. And you can see here on the image, the left-hand side of that fabric doesn't have it. On the right-hand side, it does. Very easy to add. Simply adjust the sheen color or texture and the glossiness, and you can take a fabric that looks a little dull and lifeless to something that looks nice and soft with all the right lighting and shading to it. Similarly, we've updated displacement. We've made displacement a bit easier for you to add onto your texture. So on the left-hand side, you see displacement's off. That stone looks smooth. And on the right-hand side, it really looks like a nice rough surface. So you can now add displacement to both your V-Ray and to your Revit materials. And here you can see what that looks like in action. So you can sort of pick up on a theme here. We're increasing the realism, adding, that fine-tuned amount of rendering that lets you take something that looks almost real to very real. And one of those things that we'd like to add to our images in a subtle way is variation, because that's really what's gonna, make it seem like it's real. So a couple things that we've added. First thing, we've added something called the UVW placement, and that randomizes your texture coordinates. You can offset them, scale them, rotate them. We've actually improved the multi-submap, which lets you vary colors of hue, saturation, and gamma. But let's look at that in action. So let's say we've got a wood floor like this, and right now there's no randomization. The texture is all very uniform. But with that UVW placement, you can now quickly randomize that texture across the wood floor. And then with the color variation, you can now introduce that subtle color variation across all of those different planks. Incredibly easy. You don't have to go back into Photoshop or someplace to adjust that texture. It's just all ready to go. Similarly, I don't know if you've ever experienced a texture map that sort of repeats, and you can really see the tiling on the left-hand side of this image of a chair. You can see how that texture just very visibly repeats. Well, we've added something called stochastic tiling, and that's a really fast fix for repeating textures. It sort of breaks it up and reduces that patterning. Now, we've accentuated it here so that you could see it. And it's just as simple as sort of adding a checkbox and adjusting the blend amount. But here's an example you might experience. So in this particular case, you've got a repeating texture on the wall, and you could sort of see how that stone looks like it's stamped in all those same places. But with stochastic tiling, it breaks that pattern up, and you can't see the repetitions anymore. And then, of course, if we took it one more level, we could add that color variation to help break up the surfaces even more. And again, it's very, very easy to do. So even though our moms told us not to go play in the dirt, or maybe your mom did, my mom told me to play in the dirt. Here's another one of those subtle tools that you can add to bring just an extra bit of realism, and that's the improved dirt map has procedural streaks that you can use to add weathering. So it's literally just a couple of checkboxes, and you choose the size. And here you can see that it's very clean. Now maybe you add a bit of dirt onto it and a bit of weathering. It's up to you. Obviously, not every presentation image requires to have sort of dirt added to it. Sometimes you do want to see the clean surfaces, but just know that it's there when you need it. Then to give you an easy way to add line work on top of your images, say you're wanting to do some sort of illustration or a presentation where you've got line work added, we've now added global contours as well as individual settings in the materials. So you can quickly add a line color and a width, tell it to respect opacity. You can split it between the exterior or the sort of outer contours and the inner contours very easily. And then you can also go directly into the materials and set up the contour settings right inside the materials as well, which gives you a great way to add that and override it very simply. And here's what that looks like sort of in action. So that's a quick overview of all the great new things that we've added to V-Ray 5 for Revit. I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. We've got Chris and Danway and Tracy and Cherry from ELS Architecture and Urban Design. They're going to walk you through their design and visualization process, and they're also going to share a bit about how V-Ray 5 for Revit fits into their workflow. So let me turn it over to Dan Wei's screen. And welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Long. All right.
Okay, thank you, Lon. Hello, everyone. We are extremely appreciative and happy to be invited here to talk about our design process and our experiences with V-Ray 5. To start, I'd like to give a brief description of our firm. We're approximately a 60-person firm, headquartered in Berkeley, California, with 2 satellite offices, one in Los Angeles and the other in Sacramento. We're located in the Bay Area and close to the University of California, Berkeley. We're a very culturally diverse firm. Our staff comes from all over the world, as far as Argentina, Lebanon, China, Korea, and New Zealand. Being in Berkeley, we have a very laid-back culture, lots of jeans, hoodies, sneakers, and sometimes baseball caps. And I also have to add that ELS is a place where collaboration is very important. Collaboration between staff, the contractors we work with, and our clients is probably one of the most important parts of our practice. Our firm has 4 main studios: mixed-use retail, which includes shopping centers, housing, hospitality, and office buildings; arts and entertainment. We've designed numerous performing arts theaters and large venues such as the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. We do sports and recreation. A big part of our practice these days is community recreation and collegiate sports facilities. And finally, our adaptive reuse studio. We like to work on and restore historical buildings. As the primary team members responsible for advancing the design process in our office, I think we should introduce ourselves. And I guess I'll start with myself. My name is Chris. I am a design director in the office. I've been with the firm for over 20 years, a graduate of UC Berkeley. I've worked both as a project manager and a lead designer on projects. I started out in the retail studio, then got really interested in the sports venues, especially the aquatics facilities. But today I spread my efforts amongst the 4 studios in the office. Because I've worked on both sides of the production and design, I have special interest in advancing our design process, including how to streamline it into the production side, construction documents. So that's me, Dan Wei.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Wei Wang. I'm a senior designer with about 7 years experience, practiced both domestically and internationally. I joined ELS 5 years ago, have worked on closer with Chris and the team in different scales across the projects across the country. And on top of that, I'm also a member of a design technology group in ELS, leading the design visualization category. Tracy?
Thanks. I'm Tracy Chan. I'm designer and BIM manager at ELS. I've been with the firm for about 6 years and worked in all studios, helping to take our designs from concepts all the way through design and construction. Jerry?
Hi everyone, my name is Cherry. I joined ELS as a designer 2 years ago after graduating from UC Berkeley. I've been very fortunate to have worked with the team that I'm here with today. This team basically taught me how to work fast and be efficient using software like V-Ray and Revit, and taught me the importance of iterative design and using the given technology. So I have to share my growing experience as a designer today as a part of the presentation.
Thanks, Cherry. So why did we get invited to present today? It all starts with the development of our iterative design process and why we believe interoperability is the key to a smoother workflow. Around 2007, we started making the switch primarily from using AutoCAD to using Revit as a production tool for our construction documents. In conjunction with using Revit, we were relying on outside companies to produce our presentation renderings. At that time, we had very limited in-house technical ability to produce computer-generated renderings. Of course, we did have SketchUp, and while it's a fantastic product that's easy to use, and it did help us visualize, overall, it didn't exactly have the rendering performance we were looking for. It also required us to build 2 models, a SketchUp model to visualize and a Revit model for construction. Workflow-wise, we really felt SketchUp was a dead end for us. When we discovered the Autodesk Rendering Cloud, it revolutionized how we worked. It's a wonderful platform, and it completely changed our workflow. We became more streamlined. We started designing in Revit in the concept phase, and then sending our model as we worked on the design to the Rendering Cloud so we could see and experience our design iterations with a more accurate representation of the materials. We're now using renderies not just for presentations, but also as a design tool. The interoperability provided us the capability to produce everything in-house, and we were in control of how we wanted our vision represented, while at the same time advancing our production drawings in Revit. Then came real-time rendering. We were drawn toward these programs as they allowed us to see our design iterations updated in real time. I think for us, and for many firms, real-time rendering is a huge breakthrough. Unfortunately, we also feel it is a bit of a step back in terms of the visuals we were using when we were using the Autodesk Rendering Cloud. We're still yearning for a more realistic visualization of materials, as well as, and most importantly, the ability to have more control over how we want our materials represented. So in conjunction with the real-time rendering programs, we started using the V-Ray Rendering Cloud, not just for presentation renderings, but also as an added design tool for the ability to see the materials as well as the lighting more accurately represented while we design. While this is not the most streamlined workflow, this is the process we're currently using. And while it serves their needs in the never-ending quest for interoperability to streamline our ability to go faster, we've been working with the Chaos Group, providing them feedback on the software developments in an effort to make this a reality. We think V-Ray Vision could be our next step. With the ability to visualize in Revit through V-Ray in real time from concepts to construction, as well as produce stunning renderings in an efficient interoperable workflow, this would be not only amazing, but honestly, a relief. With all the many amazing visualization softwares out there, and with each that we use or have used, we're not 100% sure that many companies truly understand the architectural workflow we're looking for. But in our discussions with the Chaos Group, for the first time, we believe that their understanding and direction matches our vision. And again, I have to say that our team is fortunate to be working with them in the development of their software. And with that, I'll turn it over to the rest of the team to describe our workflow in more detail. Tracy, why Revit?
Thanks, Chris. So yeah, why Revit and why V-Ray for Revit? So we actually start massing our conceptual designs right in Revit, and this model generated in early concepts is carried all the way through documentation and construction. We found that the benefit of starting in Revit is that we can leverage Revit's analytical tools like Dynamo alongside visualization tools like V-Ray without having to detach or export dead-end models. And V-Ray for Revit fits right into that workflow at every stage of the project. For example, we use V-Ray during the pursuit phase to help us show how sustainable strategies were being implemented in our conceptual design through a simple white model rendering. Naturally, this rendering accurately corresponds to the proposed floor plan since both use the same Revit model. Essentially, what you see is what you get. Once we hit the ground running in conceptual design and SDs, we use rapid design iteration to make informed design decisions. Before real-time renderers, we would send these draft views to render in the cloud and wait a few minutes to see the results. Each of these design variations lives in our Revit model until an internal decision is made. From that point, presentation renderings are made as needed during SDs, DDs, and CDs to communicate design changes to the client, all while using the most up-to-date information from the current Revit model. All in all, the key to this type of integrated workflow is that it relies heavily on well-organized model and a system for compartmentalizing rendering assets. While these specific renderings predate our use of V-Ray, I think they exemplify the relationship we like to maintain between our presentation images and drawings over time across multiple project phases. In fact, this series was inspired by a member of a client group who mentioned that he liked to take design renderings and hold them up to the constructed building just to see how close the rendering was to the final product. So now Danwei will talk about just how V-Ray for Revit improves and expedites our workflow.
Thank you, Tracy. Hello, everyone again. My name is Dan Wei. I think my memory of using V-Ray died all the way back when I was in college. Back then, as a fact, I think everyone knows V-Ray represents the best visualization quality. And this fact still stands today. So thank you, Chaos Group. However, in the past years, my colleagues and I are always facing one big problem, which is efficiency. I remember the time when I was working on a competition in China, we brainstormed the ideas and worked on the modeling in SketchUp. And then we were forced to pencil down a week before the deadline so that the outsourced rendering company could remodel everything in 3ds Max and finish the visualization product before the deadline. This experience has been changed a lot after V-Ray announced the V-Ray for SketchUp. But soon after that, we realized another problem, which is if we design and render in SketchUp, it will easily take a week or more for the team to translate the model into Revit for documentation. And this tough choice between quality and efficiency still lived with me when I joined ELS 5 years ago. In ELS, we design through renderings, which means we use renderings as a design tool, and not just for the presentations. And the reason behind this is we believe that a good design is based on numerous iterations. And the best way to validate design ideas is through photorealistic visualization. While it's a beautiful idea, it's used to be very hard to achieve due to the limitation of software and hardware. This challenge no longer exists after the Chaos Group published V-Ray for Revit. What's even better is the Chaos Group added cloud rendering into the V-Ray for Revit soon after that. Here, I want to share with you a project we did about 2 years ago as an example of using V-Ray and cloud rendering to study the design through renderings. This project is an office building in Austin, Texas. It is a 4-story high, about 300,000 square feet office building sitting on a whole city block. One of the design requests from the client is we should design a building that looks like 3 buildings. So our design strategy is to break the building into 3 parts. The middle part, we so-called the building B, has its own look, while the building A and C shares a similar design features to tie the building together. This rendering on the screen you've seen is the southwest corner of the building, where you're looking at the building C, and the C is down the street. The design task I want to share with you is the building C facade study. We did in the design development phase. So first, we set up the design options so the rest of the team can work on the other part of the building at the same time. Then I start the set up the camera angle from the northwest corner where the public would approach this building. So it will also allows us to see the relationship between the building C and the rest of the building. Then Chris and I started to brainstorm and did numerous of design ideas. And every time we come up with an idea, we send a model to V-Ray Cloud to render while we're working on the next. And then we would validate these ideas based on the image we received. After several rounds of brainstorming, we finally settled on the idea that we like. Then we make that option as a primary design option in Revit so that the rest of the team could use that as a new base of design. At the same time, we start to add entourage for the rendering to bring the image into life so that we can send it to both our client and the city for approval. So as you see, with the V-Ray for Revit and the V-Ray Cloud, we could not only challenge our design ideas through photorealistic images, but it also allows us to design documentation and prepare for presentation simultaneously. Besides this, V-Ray for Revit has also dramatically increased our design efficiency. In this case study, I would like to share with you a project we did during the pandemic, which shows you how V-Ray for Revit help us to achieve this complex design product while we all work remotely. This is a design competition for a higher education lab building. This facility consists of labs for various departments, lecture hall, and a student gathering space. And each department has very strict requirements for those labs. As a result, we should come up with design not only is attractive to the students and the campus, but they also need to be served all the departments need. So during the design process, we have team members working on exterior design, side design, interior design, and lab planning all simultaneously in one model. So in this case, we were heavily using the work sharing feature in V-Ray for Revit, which allows us to share the settings across the team. And by doing so, we not only increase our efficiency, but also maintain the graphic consistency across the team. So as you see on the screens, these are some of the renderings we achieved in the end of the 1-month design period. We have total 5 designers working on this project, including me, Tracy, and 2 of our colleagues, and our design lead, Chris. Another key fact that I want to share with you is with V-Ray for Revit and V-Ray Cloud, we accomplish these work through our regular work hours, which is amazing. And here, I also want to express our gratitude to V-Ray for Revit support team, Anna, and her team, who gave us tremendous support during the pandemic. Next part, I want to introduce my colleague Cherry, who wants to share with us her experience of using V-Ray for Revit.
Hi, thank you, Danwei. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Revit and V-Ray in a fresh out of college junior designer's point of view. So Revit was a software that I didn't have so much exposure to before. I mostly used Rhino in school and SketchUp and CAD for internships. And even though these are all great programs, Revit and V-Ray together really changed things for me. Because first of all, it had a very low learning curve, even to junior designers like myself. V-Ray for Revit's interface was straightforward and easy to learn, which was extremely important as I had to produce results while getting myself familiarized with the software. And like it was explained earlier, V-Ray and Revit together really integrate the design process. So for projects with a very tight timeline, we want to design and visualize multiple iterations at the same time. V-Ray allows us to test and render with the materials or setting overrides that are specific to the view or the design option. So producing many renderings has been relatively easy for us to manage. I only wish that it was easier to get the perfect material look or like the perfect lighting in the rendering because, excuse me, I think they're like the deciding factor of the rendering quality, and it always took me the longest time to test. I fortunately have had a chance to try the new V-Ray for Revit, and I think the new features like light mix or the expanded material settings are really game-changing. I'm excited about this, and I'm hopeful that this will accelerate our workflow and save us even more time. That way.
Thank you, Cherry. So as you have seen, V-Ray for Revit has been a great tool for us over the years and being perfectly aligned with our design methodology. But can we be more efficient? Can V-Ray be easier to use so that we can make design decision even faster? And I think the answer is yes after we test the V-Ray 5 for Revit. In this new generation of V-Ray for Revit, you will see the brand new feature called the Light Mix, which allows you to modify both the dome light and artificial lights in the scene after the rendering is done. With the Light Mix, you can find out the best lighting settings without numerous re-rendering, which will tremendously cut down your rendering time, especially working on those interior scene and the dust exterior scene, which has tons of lighting to deal with at the same time. Besides Light Mix, there's another new feature called Chaos Cosmos, which is a comprehensive asset library developed by V-Ray. In Chaos Cosmos, you could find content from photorealistic skies, trees, cars, all the way to a coffee cup in a magazine on a table. With this powerful library, it pushed the photorealistic rendering even closer to the architects. And by having those content browsers stay inside the Revit, it also helps us to manage our BIM model even better. And then last but not least, V-Ray introduced us the V-Ray Vision, a real-time rendering tools that stay within V-Ray for Revit. So with this new feature added, our pipeline transforms our in-house design and visualization process into a seamless and integrated workflow without having to switch platforms. So as an architect, excuse me, after testing the V-Ray 5 for Revit, I feel I'm very lucky. And the reason I feel so is not only because those powerful new tools, but also I found out that the Chaos Group are the people who truly understand how architect works, and the product they brought us totally align with our design methodology. With that being said, we want to thank the Chaos Group for bringing us such a wonderful tool and always supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, you guys. That was an amazing walkthrough of your whole workflow from start to finish, and I'm sure everyone appreciates hearing from everyone on the team to know how that it's affected them. Thanks again so much for that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to my screen here, and hopefully that comes back all right. And that puts us to the end of our presentation today. We want to let you know that you can get V-Ray 5 for Revit free as a 30-day free trial at chaosgroup.com/vray/Revit. That will give you also access to try out Chaos Cosmos as well. We think that, you know, Revit is obviously the #1 solution for BIM out there, and V-Ray is the #1 solution for architectural visualization. So combining the powers of both of those, you know, hopefully will let you take your design visualization to the next level. Thanks again to, you know, our friends at ELS, Danwei and Cherry and Tracy and Chris. We're going to open it up to some questions here at the end. I see that there's a few that have been added to in chat. If there's anything that you'd like to ask us, go ahead and ask it there. And I will probably turn this over to my colleague Anna, who is our technical expert on this. Anna, I see a few questions about Cosmos in here. People are wondering a few things. One, what can you adjust in Cosmos assets in terms of, you know, their size or maybe materials and so on? Are you able to add your own assets to Cosmos? Can you walk us through a couple of those details?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, the materials are not editable yet. We are working to provide that functionality, so it's coming soon. For now, they're just imported like black boxes. However, you can change their scale, rotation, or randomize them the way I showed you at the beginning. In terms of content that is going to be added in the browser, we're going to expand the free content, and at some point in the future, I think that you guys will also be able to add your own assets.
Great. I see another question here that asks if we have a student version of the software, and yes, we do. You can check that out on our website. So we do there. One question about V-Ray Vision, Anna. Someone was asking if you can export, say, a walkthrough or fly-through. Can you record that out of V-Ray Vision and save it out?
This is another functionality that is coming soon. I would just recommend you guys to stay tuned and check our website regularly. We are currently working on vision animations.
Great. One question was, some people were wondering if the Cosmos assets are 2D cutouts, you know, specifically the people and trees and so on, or are they 3D objects?
Well, currently in Revit, they're represented by a 3D object, which is lightweight, while at render time, they can change their level of detail depending on whether you render them in Vision or with V-Ray. Yeah, so right now, there aren't any 2D cutouts, but this is another thing that we're considering.
Excellent. And Anna, do you see any other questions in there that you wanted to go over with anyone?
Yeah, just give me a minute because I tried to respond most of the questions, but right now I see that there are quite many.
There's one in here that I see that's not a question, but it says V-Ray 5 for Revit is great. So that's those are the kind of questions we like to see. And thank you for the presentation. One of the questions here is, will we have some updated tutorials to help understand all the new stuff in V-Ray 5 for Revit? And I think the answer there is yes. We are going to be creating some new materials that will walk you through all of this great stuff and show you how to use it. So stay tuned on our website for more.
Yes, and there will be also a technical webinar at the beginning of April.
Great. Do you see maybe one or two more questions, Anna?
Yeah. Can you change the 2D representation of your Cosmos assets? Yes, you can. If you open that particular family, you can draw or import your 2D content and then reload the family in the Revit model. I'm creating a lot of my own families. Are we able to use your materials in that process? Asks Edward. Yes, you can use the V-Ray materials. Well, you can't pack them with a family, but the workflow is fast and easy enough so that you can assign any family with a V-Ray material and keep the assignments for future use.
Great. And I guess one last question I have for you, Anna, before we wrap up here. If people do have some, some technical questions, or, they're looking for some specific answers, we'll do our best to type in some answers here to get back to you. But where would you suggest users go if they have a specific question about V-Ray for Revit?
Well, there are a couple of places. One is our official forum, which I'm following closely. So it's the first place I recommend. Also, the V-Ray community is very helpful. So even if some of us can't respond on time, there are many users that can discuss your issue and help you. And of course, the other place is support@chaosgroup.com. You can reach out to us via both these channels.
Great, thank you. So thank you again for joining us today. We hope that we've given you some exciting things to go out there and check out. Thanks to Anna for her awesome presentation. Thanks to ELS for helping us today as well. Thanks again.